Hey there, everybody. Parker Thune alongside Jesse Crittenden here on the OU Insider YouTube channel. And this is Quick Slants. We bring a couple of these to you every single week here on the channel, 10, 15 minutes just to discuss what's the hot topic right now or hot topics in the world of OU football. And today we arrive at the quarterback situation, Jesse. And Dillon Gabriel is your incumbent starter. The expectation is that he's going to take all of the snaps for Oklahoma in an ideal world this fall as he enters his fifth year of college football and his fourth full season as a starter. Then you got a five-star signee coming in behind him in Jackson Arnold. And look, there are comparisons to be made between the situation here in 2023 with the quarterback room at Oklahoma and the situation that you had in 2021 with Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams. Want to emphasize there's not a direct parallel between the two at all, and we'll unpack that a little bit more. But one thing that is undeniable, Jesse, is that the reports from within on Jackson Arnold through 3 weeks of spring ball have been glowing.
No, 100%. It's not even just stuff like that. It's just watching him on the field. Now, obviously, I understand that, the open practices that we have access to, it's limited in what we see. But I mean, it's pretty clear he's a step above anybody that was behind Dillon Gabriel last year, and that's just a given. That's at a floor. That's a given. But he's impressed me with the way he's moved in individual drills that we've seen. And I posted a video of quarterback drills a couple of days ago. It was just a short, quarterback fakes a handoff, rolls out, throws 5 yards down the field. Not that there's a lot to glean from something like that, but it was pretty clear that Jackson Arnold had no problems with that, and maybe some of the other non-Dillon Gabriel quarterbacks did. Few different guys, or a few different people mentioned that in the Twitter replies to that tweet. So, anyways, yeah, I think if there was already excitement about Jackson Arnold, it's already elevated just a few weeks in the spring ball.
Now let's handicap this battle, if you can call it that, a little bit, because when Caleb Williams was opening eyes back in spring ball in 2021, there were those that maintained, oh, the year Spencer Rattler had in 2020, there's no way, even as good as Caleb Williams is, there's no way he's not your starter come the fall of 2021. And obviously he did open the season as the starter, but there were those that said, hey, no, you need to watch out for Caleb Williams because he is a lot more physically gifted than Spencer Rattler and brings a lot more to the table. Lo and behold, everybody kind of had their eyes open to it on that early October day when Williams brought them back from a 21-point deficit to win the Red River Showdown over Texas 55-48. Now, what can undeniably be said about the difference and the discrepancy between Arnold and Gabriel is that if you're talking about sheer physical talent, Arnold just has a lot more of it than Gabriel. Now, sheer physical talent does not make a starter. And this is in no way to suggest that Jackson Arnold supplants Dillon Gabriel in 2023, because you reflect on the situation with Rattler and Williams. The one thing you had with Rattler was a guy that seemingly didn't really take the competition seriously within that group of quarterbacks. And it wasn't just Caleb, but you had Ralph Rucker and you had a bunch of other quarterbacks on the depth chart, but everybody kind of figured, right, okay, if there's one guy in the room that's going to step up and challenge Spencer, it's obviously Caleb Williams, which he did very early on. And yet Rattler in press conferences, availabilities, anytime he got in front of the media, he never really seemed to validate the notion that Williams was even close to on par with him. And that was somewhat commensurate with the general air of confidence that infringed upon cockiness that Rattler carried with him in the 3 years that he was at Oklahoma. In Gabriel, what you have in 2023 is a guy with his head screwed on straight, very humble, and a hard worker that has not and will not ever take anything for granted. So looking at what the natural comparison that people will make in as far as the 2021 quarterback battle, looking at what that looks like in comparison to what you have here at Oklahoma with Gabriel and Arnold in 2023, what are some of the similarities and differences that you see between those two situations?
Yeah, I think the first one is that, I mean, again, I think Spencer Rattler's 2020 season in some ways is underrated, but on the other side of it, he wasn't quite the veteran that Dillon Gabriel is now. Dillon Gabriel has spent a lot of time on the field, And I think in some ways, I mentioned Spencer Rattler kind of being underrated. I kind of think that about Dylan Gabriel's season last year too. I think there were areas that he could have been better, but I really don't think he was a main problem. And I think there's optimism that Dylan Gabriel can be better this upcoming season and build on what he did last year. Not only that, but I think it's been pretty clear that the coaching staff has seen Jackson Arnold as the future face of Oklahoma. That's the way Jeff Lebby mentioned it or referred to him a few weeks or a few months ago. But I think it's pretty clear. I mean, we've talked about it before. This coaching staff values experience. I don't think they're necessarily in any rush to get him out there. I think the value of Jackson Arnold right now is they need to have more confidence about the guys behind Dylan Gabriel. That's not to say Jackson Arnold can't work his way on the field, but I think he already gives them more confidence behind Dylan Gabriel. That's one thing. And two, I think it's been pretty clear that they value Dylan Gabriel's leadership. They value his maturity. I don't think those are things that Spencer Rattler had in 2021. I really don't. And I actually think Dylan Gabriel had a pretty good year for the most part last year. And I think there's a lot that's going to happen, but I think there is genuine value, unlike that situation with Rattler and Caleb Williams, where Dylan Gabriel keeps the mantle. This is still a program that's rebuilding, coming off a 6-7 season. I think there's value in they're not rushing Jackson Arnold out on the field. Give Dylan Gabriel another chance. He's a veteran, and then after this year, that's maybe where Jackson Arnold steps in.
I'm going to make a series of 3 statements, Jesse, and you tell me whether you agree or disagree with them. One, the way that Rattler played and or plays the quarterback position made him easier to catch in that battle for the quarterback job because he was willing to rely on his arm talent and was sometimes overly confident in it to the point where he would try to fit passes where they didn't belong. On the other hand, with Gabriel, he's always been one that stewards the ball quite well and is not at all turnover prone or willing to put the ball in harm's way to try and take a risk that could be high reward, but could also result in a turnover.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think, again, you can say 2 things about Dylan Gabriel's season last year, that there were at times he was really good and things that he can get better at. But you're exactly right. I mean, only 6 picks last year. 3 of them came in one game. So otherwise, outside of that kind of outlier game, he took care of the ball. The offense, for the most part, last year was pretty good. Really, a lot of the issues last year was defensively. And so I think if you look at a program that is trying to build its way back up, like Brent Venables, this is still year 2 with this staff and Jeff Lebby and everything. There's certainly a pathway to Dylan Gabriel is going to be even better this year or this coming year. He's got another year under his belt. And I also think actually having Jackson Arnold there as a backup or as somebody behind Dylan Gabriel adds to the offense, just having him on the team. But I mean, I think it makes sense that Dylan Gabriel, with his experience and maturity, his experience in Jeff Lebby's system, the way, like you said, he's not turnover prone, the way he moves the ball, it makes sense that might be a clear pathway for this year, specifically coming off last year, than maybe Spencer Rattler in 2021.
Statement number 2. Rattler had a smaller margin for error than Gabriel does because expectations were a lot higher for the 2021 Sooners than they are for the 2023 Sooners. In that, you look at when Spencer Rattler was benched, Oklahoma was 5-0. Now, it wasn't an impressive 5-0, but that was a team that many were buzzing about in preseason as a legitimate national title contender and even front runner.
No, that's kind of why I mentioned this. You have to remember this is a team coming off a 6-7 season. Now you can look at that and say, well, then there needs to be a sense of urgency now to try to do whatever you can to shake things up. But I don't think that's the way they're going to go about doing things. And I think Dylan Gabriel brings a stability that maybe Spencer Rattler never quite brought. And the reality is, too, you mentioned OU being 5-0 that year going into Texas. Spencer Rattler was pretty up and down more than Dylan Gabriel ever was at any point last year. And I mean, they fell behind 28-7 in that Texas game in 2021, where Spencer Rattler had 2 really, really bad turnovers. Even at Dylan Gabriel's worst last year, it never really was quite that bad.
Statement number 3 here. So to recap, Rattler's style and Gabriel differed vastly. Rattler's team had higher expectations than Gabriel's team. Statement number 3, to kind of tie a bow on it. You tell me if you agree or disagree. Best case scenario is that Jackson Arnold does not take meaningful snaps for Oklahoma in 2023. Some would say yes, some would say no. What do you say and why?
I agree. Because to me, if he were to take meaningful snaps, that could mean that he's just bar none the best quarterback in the room already. I mean, you could look at it in that kind of optimistic viewpoint. But to me, if you were to tell me right now that Jackson Arnold takes meaningful snaps, I would say, oh man, what happened with the OU offense? Something went wrong with this season. So again, it's not about just because Jackson Arnold is a freshman that he can't see the field. But I think again, the path that this coaching staff wants to take is to try to build some stability this year, get Jackson Arnold his first year in the system, let him learn from Dillon Gabriel. You're banking on Dillon Gabriel building on last year being a little bit better. But I think it's clear they see Jackson Arnold as a long-term starter in this system, but they want his first year to be learning from a veteran quarterback like Dillon Gabriel, who operates pretty well in this system under Jeff Levy. So I would agree with you.
Yeah. In sum, I think what we're trying to communicate here, folks, is that it's going to be all too easy to make the comparison to this quarterback situation in 2023 and the quarterback situation in 2021 for Oklahoma. And there are some similarities there, but at least at this point in the process, there seem to be more differences than similarities. So obviously, we will keep y'all updated as to how this thing progresses, not just within the quarterback room, but all over Oklahoma's roster as these position battles begin to take shape through the final couple of weeks of spring practice, as well as on into fall camp in August. If you're not a VIP member at OUinsider.com, would highly encourage you to go sign up for just a few bucks a month. It's the price of a cup of coffee, and you're not going to get better insider information on Oklahoma football and recruiting anywhere. Certainly subscribe to this YouTube channel because it won't cost you a dime. And we'll have lots of Sooners talk on this channel over the next couple of weeks leading up to the spring game on April 22nd. For Jesse Crittenden, I am Parker Thune. We'll talk to you next time.